Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's so great to have you all with me on the Highway to Scale, a podcast in which we explore the ins and outs of business success and where we cover topics like validating business ideas, exploring different management styles, building products, launching them on the market, raising capital, and scaling your business. Now, before we get to the main part, please consider subscribing and get in touch with me if you want to be a guest on the show. Okay, in today's episode, I'm joined by Gilles, who is the CEO of Livestorm, a company that has quite literally taken the industry of live video communication by storm. They had an insane growth in 2020. They soared past 100 employees, and with more than $30 million in funding, they are rapidly expanding on all fields. In this podcast, Gilles will tell us more about what it took for him and his team to handle that 3,000% increase in platform usage and 7x revenue growth. We'll also discuss why it's okay to be a careful CEO and why should every startup owner have a global mindset. So let's cut the intro and let's jump right into the episode to see what Gilles can teach us about building a business. Gilles.
Thank you for having me. That's a really good intro.
It's really great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
I have a couple of topics that I would like to go with you during this podcast. But before we jump into that, can you tell me a little bit more about your company?
Sure.
What is Livestorm doing and what is your focus as a CEO?
Right. So Livestorm is a video engagement platform, and basically it's a video platform on which you can host from events from 10 to thousands of people all at once using the same product. And the main thing about Livestorm is that we don't focus so much on the video. We focus on the packaging that goes around the video. So everything around organizing an event is basically out of the box. It goes from landing pages to emails to integrations to whatever you may want to have for organizing such event is out of the box. So that's the core focus, the core thing that is unique to Livestorm is really focusing on those aspects rather than just the video itself. Yeah, and as to answer your question on what is my role at Livestorm, as I always say, is a lot of different things, including, turning the lights off when leaving the office. But essentially, is I still oversee a lot of the go-to-market strategy. So that goes from growth to sales, and also a big portion of my time is taken by operations. So I have a CFO that really handles the micro stuff not the micro stuff, but really operational stuff regarding people, finance, and everything in between. And I kind of oversee strategy from an operations perspective.
Great. So I really like the thing you said, it's not just about video, it's the whole package, because a lot of your competitors focus only on the video side. Here's a platform, you can record the video, but brands who use those tools then need to do all of the other things on their own. This is really something amazing about Livestorm, and it really pushes you above the others.
Thank you, and I think it's really tied to the really genesis of Livestorm. When I first started, it was back in 2015. Man, it was a long time ago now, and and we're still a student intern actually, and Livestorm was still a final exam project, and essentially, I was doing a bunch of webinars for the company I was working with, and I was literally like stitching tools together to create landing pages and emails. I had like tons of Zapier and automations working with HubSpot and whatnot, just to have like a simple workflow to invite and send reminders to people for my webinar. And I was like, there must be a better way. It's like, it sounds really cliche, but Absolutely, it was really that.
That's great. So let's jump back to 2020.
Right.
It was a crazy year, all year round. We're feeling some of the things still in 2021, but for Livestorm, it was a major milestone.
Yeah.
Because not only did your revenue rise 7 times, the usage of your app rose 30 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It was. Wow. and we were on a good side on the road, that's for sure, because we were part of the lucky ones. But it was insane, and I think I feel really lucky to have been just a witness of that, because I don't think that a lot of startups see that kind of thing when usually they have this really steadily exponential growth rates, but nothing that goes like 7 times in 1 year. So I'm really lucky to have witnessed that. And essentially what happens is, I can tell you the story of back in March. So first lockdown, right? And usually March is a really good month, right? We have this dashboard with the numbers, the KPIs, and everything is green. And then, every time I was refreshing the dashboard, numbers will go up. And I was like, oh man, what is happening?
What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on? Is there a bug? No, it was actually, so it was like this big wave that hit us. And so obviously it was great, but it obviously came with a lot of, things to solve at the same time.
Yeah,
so typically, we had, so we had like 4 people in customer support, so like just 30 of us and 4 people in customer support, like global customer support. And they used to deal with like 2,000 conversations a month, something around that. And out of a sudden they had like overnight 20,000 conversations to handle. And then you're like, oh man, how are we going to survive this? So basically it all came down to one thing. Say, okay, we're going to really focus on one thing, make the boat float, essentially. So just like push back the roadmap, forget about features, forget about everything, just focus on architecture, invest as much. We had the chance to actually like raise a Series A not so long ago, so we had plenty of cash in the bank. So we like, okay, we're going to invest so much in architecture. We're going to invest so much in focusing the product team on automating stuff for the support to relieve, the load that we're having. So all the things stitched together make us pass through that 3-month storm, and no puns intended actually, but 3-month storm. And back in the summer, so we, took a step back and said, okay, so what could we have done better? And I think by then I realized that I was missing obviously a lot of people. This is why we grew so much. We went from 30 to I think 80, something around that by the end of 2020. Wow. And now 110 today. And it's also I was missing middle management. I mean, I was handling everything and my co-founders were handling everything, and we had like multiple hats at the same time. And even though we had managers in place, we didn't have enough managers in place. So we had a bunch of people, really talented people to do that. And as for, and also to answer the question, to answer the topic on what was the growth that we experienced during this year, essentially what happens is we had like, 1,000-ish customers, Series A company, beginning of 2020, 30 people. And we ended the year, we did like 7x growth on the revenue side. Platform usage architecture group at 30x. So I don't even know how you say that in actually percentage. I've lost count. And
3,000.
Yeah, 3,000 something. I mean, it's insane. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, but it was really tough, and I think we were actually quite lucky to have. And this is one thing I need to really give back to the team is, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden people got really focused really fast on one thing only together. Say, we're going to make this boat float. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing, So yeah, there it is.
I mean, that was something they experienced for the first time, because up until that point, you had more or less of a steady growth.
Yeah.
No extreme jumps like
no, it was like, well, it was still good. I mean, like, we were not going to complain. It was like 2x, 2.5x every year. So really, like, I'll say casual startup, VC-backed growth, let's say. But yeah, 7x was obviously something we expected.
Okay, let me just ask you a couple of questions about the entire video industry that
right.
It's growing. It's constantly growing. For the last couple of years, everyone is talking about you need to do video content. You're the person who knows a lot about video content since your entire platform is based on it. So can you give me some insider tips about what's what about video content that should do great for brands? What should brands try out?
I think, look, the thing that I've realized is, and it's also part of the reason why we also started Livestorm back then, is when you go on Instagram, right? You take your phone, you want to go live. It's pretty easy. You don't ask yourself, how am I going to go live? You just ask yourself, okay, what the hell I'm going to stream? And when it comes to B2B, when it comes to actually do that with your brand, it's pretty much the other way around. You have tons of ideas, but the main thing that you start asking yourself is, how am I going to do it? And because you have so much things to take into account, the tools, you have to stitch tools together, or the tools are not doing it enough for you. It's not as
so
easy.
Much preparation. Exactly.
So much preparation. It's not supposed to be that hard. And I think what 2020 bring into the game is I really think there is a new wave of video software coming out. If you think about it, Zoom has been here for like almost 10 years now. So I still don't think they're a big part of that second wave. Obviously, I do believe we are part of it, because we have that positioning that doesn't focus on video so much. And I think you take, for example, Hopin. Hopin is a great example of that. They don't focus so much on video. They focus on how we're going to be the best at providing a really cool virtual event technology that mimics what exists in real life. And
exactly.
And I think this new wave of web conferencing is trying to really reduce the gaps of people saying, I'm not going to focus so much on how to do it because the platform is going to help me do it. I'm going to focus on what kind of use cases, what kind of content I can produce. And let me tell you something. We have customers that were in 2020 that were not used at all to do video, and banks and that sort of customers that are now like the biggest users and have never seen so much diversity in the use case to produce. You have like internal training, podcast, even some HR fair, whatever. So they have tons of different things, and they don't focus anymore on how, but on the what. And I think that's what's coming next for us.
I mean, that really shows the strength of the platform, because if you can take a traditional industry like banking and have them use video as simple as that, I mean, that's a massive win.
Yeah, and there is this great article that kind of I think it resonated a lot. I've seen that on LinkedIn. It was what's next for video. I think it was from a VC, and they were like really digging into the market. And one of the conclusion is the exact conclusion that we have is the next wave, the next thing for video is how do you make sense of it? And my understanding of making sense of video is not just analytics and AI and whatever. It's also packaging, integrations, and all those things, interactions even, it's just something simple. Say, okay, we've been doing, for example, we've been doing like web video conferencing. We have webcam, screen sharing, whatnot. But what if you could replace screen sharing with something else? What if you could use your Figma, Google Doc, Miro, whatever, right from the room, and use the tools that you use on a daily basis within the room?
I think I can hear my designer screaming in the next room. Like, Figma.
Yeah,
because everything is just like, share my screen. Okay, it's boring and it's old.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just thought it's.
So the future is about emancipating from all that and trying to find new ways of interacting and thinking outside of just the paradigms of webcam and screen sharing. And so the next thing for video is thinking about something else on video. It's just a weird way to put it, but I think that's really true.
I mean, so many integrations that have not yet happened can happen with video. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Let's switch the topic, and I want to ask you a little something about you, because I read in one of the interviews that you want to encourage all of the founders to adopt a global mindset right from the start when they begin their business life, when they start their company. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit more about it, because it's a great mindset to have, and from the CEOs I used to talk, and I know not a lot of people have that global mindset right from the start. Everyone seems to start, okay, we'll start small, locally in our one country, and then slowly grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. So I think it's also inherent to the kind of product you're using. Obviously, if you're doing something, it says in fintech or HR, you're probably going to have stronger ties with the local legislations and whatnot. But let's not just talk about those guys. Let's just talk about SaaS in general. I think, having a global mindset for us meant focusing, but not focusing on geography, focusing on use cases and a type of industry. For us, when we first started, we were a webinar software. Today, we are more than a webinar software. We were really focusing on the webinar use case. We were talking to marketer and we were talking to tech companies. And those three factors, you could find them everywhere in the world. There was no sense for us to really focusing on one geography. It doesn't, And another thing that we wanted, it was kind of a candid decision, but we wanted to be as neutral as possible, talk to the most people. And in order to do that, we just started speaking English, So everything on the website was in English, the blog post was in English, and even the promotion levers that we had. So we went, promoting Livestorm on Capterra or the core platform, like the Q&A platform, right? And all those platforms were kind of English-speaking platforms. And, one thing linked to another, and we started ranking in English, and out of a sudden, 80% of our customer base was, abroad, and just 20% in France, the home country. So, and I think, and the cool thing, the coolest feedback that we got back then, it was people in France reaching out, say, "Oh, I thought you were like a US-based company, but no, we're not. We're really French." And I think that's a good thing, because you have a market that all of a sudden is way more potential, and you can scale more rapidly, even though you're really focusing on one use case. So focus doesn't mean focus on geography. I think that's a mistake, honestly. And today, to give you an idea how this mentality kind of shifted today, essentially we started with global mindset. So we're gonna speak English. We're gonna talk to everyone at once. And now we reached a certain size or certain size of customer base or size of markets. And now we have to have the same mindset, but now to think local. And that's even hard. I think that's even harder, because you're a global company, but you know that in order to increase your conversion rates, in order to be even better, you have to be really good locally. It means, like, if I'm going to have someone that comes from Spain, I'm going to have the whole funnel in Spanish. If I talk to someone in the US, it's going to be the whole funnel in the US color, meaning logos, languages, and whatnot. That's it's harder. I would not recommend that doing from scratch, because that's a lot of automations and processes and whatever. But at our size now, it makes more sense to do it.
So when it comes to your, let's say, sales teams, I believe, it's for them, it used to be very, very hard, to cover all of those markets. How did you handle that?
I think it's again, it was really candid. I think I just went for, I'm gonna have sales that have a really diverse background. And by diverse background, I mean nationality, I mean languages, I mean pretty much, I think the first sales that we had, pretty much all of them, well, not all of them, but a fair amount of them were speaking more than one or two languages, which, is, and that gives them flexibility to jump from a French account to a US-based account to a EMEA account. And that's, when you start the sales team, you want to have the flexibility. You want to have people that come from different background, from a cultural standpoint, from also a company standpoint, and that gives, I think that's the right way to do it. That helped for us.
I love that mindset, because a lot of companies really have that. Okay, I'll get the sales, but there'll be, my local team, someone I know, or someone from my country that's really good at it.
Yeah,
this is amazing what you just said. And
it's
cultures, languages.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just not. I mean, it's not wrong. I just think it's probably not a good way to start. I think at some point it makes sense to have someone that speaks Spanish, and when you're going to route your leads to that person that speaks Spanish, because it increases the conversion rates or whatever. But when you start, again, you want to be like broad. You want to make sure that your 5 salespeople team can address pretty much any leads. You want to have,
Anything, yeah.
again, it's global, right? Anyway.
Yeah, that's that global mindset that you mentioned. Another thing I really like when I researched what you do and what's Livestorm all about, I found out about your motto, which says, and it's really great. And let me quote you: "When there's a doubt, there's no doubt." I mean, that's really amazing, because when you talk to CEOs, they don't have that, as you said. I'm a careful CEO. A lot of people think you as a CEO need to be always on the edge, taking risks.
Yeah.
This mindset of yours is really refreshing. Can you tell me a little bit more about how did you end up with that?
Like, I think it's because this is my first company, so I think it's a really personal thing, and it's just like a baby. You're careful about it. You don't wanna fuck things up, and also I don't come from a entrepreneurial background. Actually, my parents were in the public service and nothing to do with entrepreneurship, so those things kind of also affected me in a way, I suppose. But I think it's just, look, I don't like to play startup. I don't want to act like a startup. I want to act as an entrepreneur. I want to make sure that the companies run well. I want to make sure the company is healthy as possible when you actually have a VC capital injected, and also have a healthy team. And I know it's really different, but I think mentalities, at least here in Europe, are kind of shifting, because we're in a really particular context where, there is a lot of uncertainty. And I think when you're mentalities are starting slowly to shift in that direction. I think it's a good thing, because honestly, I was thinking recently that there was a lot of things that didn't make sense for me. I mean, from a VC standpoint, a lot of things that were not making sense. And I think and at the end of the day, if you look at why people work with you or come work with your company, is because they want to feel safe. They want to to feel ambition. They want to feel ambition. They want to feel they're part of something greater, and they're going to go in a certain direction. But they want to be safe as well. I think that's the main thing. And I think for a long time we've been, I don't know, kind of forgetting about that safe aspect, if you ask me. So yeah. Anyway.
But when it comes to getting outside capital, you always hear stories. When you get outside capital, the investors will push you to grow. Take all the risks. It seems like you don't have that problem, or you're doing it your own way.
Yeah, I think there is. It's not that binary. It's not like you care about people and you care about having a healthy growth and you don't grow, or no, it's not to say, it's not binary. I mean, we've been growing 7 times. We've been growing 2.5x every year. And yet I think of myself as someone that is prudent, because you never know when winter is coming. And
of course,
and even from a VC standpoint, if I know that sometimes winter is coming, as I said, then why not, taking money? Because you want to make sure you have like a mattress, something you can still rely on to build up the company and still grow 2x, even in times of uncertainty like this. So being prudent it doesn't mean not being able to grow. I think it's quite the opposite, actually.
Great. That's an amazing mindset to have, especially as you said, in times like this. Nobody could have predicted COVID. Nobody could have predicted that maybe your company was going to grow 7 times, while some other companies, failed completely because of that one thing that happened. So I really like that mentality of thinking globally, but going always going forward, but at our own pace that is able to sustain our company to keep all, as you said, 130 people that you have right now. So they're all safe, they're all happy, and they can all produce excellent products.
The most beautiful brands that have ever existed on this earth that people love the most, they've been around for 50, 100 years. At the end of the day, the ones who win are the ones who stay. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a battle,
Yeah,
us against them, because it's always okay. We have to push ourselves forward.
absolutely.
So can you tell me what were some of the challenges of building a company such as Livestorm? As you said, you started in 2015. I believe there must have been a lot of challenges that you had to overcome, that you had to face. What were some of the toughest?
I think the toughest, it all comes to one thing, is learning to let go. So essentially you learn a certain job, you get really good at it, and then you have to find someone that is even better than you, and then you just delegate that to that person. And And I've done that with, I come from a marketing background, so I've done that with marketing, I've done that with growth. I kind of learned also how to sell. I didn't know how to resell, so I kind of learned that my way. And then I delegated to someone that was actually way better than me. And I did that with ops. And now I kind of have to learn I constantly have to learn about what is the job that is not being addressed well, where I can actually have an impact. And it's actually quite easy in the early days because it's literally everything. But when you reach like Series B, Series C, you start to wonder, okay, well, what's left?
Exactly.
Well, there is actually a lot of things left. It's just that
you have to dig a little deeper. Yeah,
exactly. You have to dig deeper. And so that's one challenge. The other challenge is to also make sure that when you scale so fast, you still have a strong framework to make sure that all of a sudden one manager doesn't have 20 direct reports and then the organization kind of falls. So I had to prepare that and spend a lot of time on designing the organizations and the management system. So it was a challenge, but it was actually a fun challenge. That was a fun one. That was most of 2020, and it was really cool.
So, as you said, when it comes to letting go, how hard it is for you to let go? Because as you said in the beginning, Livestorm is your first company; it's your baby. So I bet it's quite hard to okay, is this new person really the best person for this job that I've been doing? And how do you decide? How do you let go? Is there some process that you have?
Honestly, I don't have a process. It's just, numbers tells, numbers speak. So now, let me take you to really, I think a really concrete example. Let's talk about sales, right? Sales, I knew that was not my job. It was a certain type of culture when you work in sales. I wasn't part of that world, but kind of learned kind of the hard way on the field, selling myself, et cetera, et cetera. But then when I started hiring my first sales and then the others, then I realized that actually, they were way better than me. And at some point I was like, I need to delegate that because I don't speak as good as well as I would like their language. I don't have the time to be shadowing the calls and teaching them the best practices. And it's like common sense. You just know that you're not good enough at it and you need someone to replace you. So that's a really easy example for sales. The not so easy example for me was growth and marketing because I come from there. I know what I like. I know how things are done.
Yeah.
And
you have extensive knowledge of that.
Exactly. And it took longer. And so Thibaut, head of growth, actually joined us. He was one of the first 3 people we hired. So it was back in 2017. And I spent a lot of time with him, like teaching him whatever I knew. He taught me whatever he knew. And at some point we were like, I think you know as much as I do. And I think now all you need is focus and be 100% in it. And you have that, I don't have it. So you go ahead and take it.
Yeah, exactly. You as a CEO need to handle this and this and this.
Yeah.
When you have a person that is exclusively for marketing, 100% of their time is, they're thinking about marketing.
Yeah. And if you're confident that, they're the right person, they know as much as you, or they know even more than you, then, it's only logical.
Okay, we're close to end. So let me just have you ask you a couple more questions. You have built a successful company. What would you say to young startup owners who are just launching their products, what advice would you give to them? What do they need to take care of, think about?
I think the main thing is don't think too much about it. I think it's just go ahead and try it. That's I actually have a lot of friends that want to build something, and I think that's a really honorable thing to do. And I think the main common mistake that I see is, oh, I'm gonna work with, I don't know, a branding agency. I don't have any customers, but fuck it, I'm gonna work with a branding agency. And I don't think that makes much sense. Just go with it. Start with the little things, the things that are most important as a product. For us, it was like, oh, we're gonna have video conferencing basics, landing page builder. That's it. We're gonna launch that. We'll see how that goes, and then start incrementing rapidly. And I think that's the first advice. The other advice is go as global as possible with your product, and try to be as rigorous as possible, and especially with the things that you find boring, but you'll thank me later. Typically, one thing that I regret is the whole finance and operation things. I started digging that, I think, pretty late, post Series A. But if I had been more rigorous, I think I will have actually gained a lot of time afterwards. That gives you visibility on your product. That gives you visibility on your business. You know if you're healthy or not. You can project yourself on the long run. And I think being rigorous on those aspects is really important, even in the early days.
Okay, last question. 2020 was a great year for you. 2021 is also, rising. What's the future for your company?
Look, the future for us is...
What are some of the next steps?
The next step for us is, I think there is a big one that we talked about the future of video, right? And I think for us, there is this new wave of web conferencing in general. And the thing that I realize is we're not like 100% webinar. We're not 100% meeting. We're something in between. We kind of overlap with different use cases. And for us, the future means we're going to take this overlap. We are going to give it a name, and we're going to create this new category of product. We're going to lead that category of product. And if that works, people will start using the same category name, and that would mean that we created a market. And you know what? I think that's something we can do. So hopefully, we'll be there in a year, in a couple of years. We'll see.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'm really looking forward to hearing what the new name of the category will be, and to be one of, in the end, to be one of the first who will use it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gilles, for being a part of this podcast. It was really great to have you. Thank you for all the great insights that you shared with us and with all of our listeners.
Thank you so much.
And we are done. If you stuck with us until the end, here are a few key takeaways from this episode that I want you to remember. Number 1, don't be afraid to be a careful CEO. Play the long game and strive to build a healthy company, because companies and brands that ultimately win are the ones that stay. Number 2, know when to let go. I know that your company is your baby, but as a CEO, you can't do it all because you can't focus on everything. So hire people who will be able to fully focus on the specific aspects of your business that you currently handle. And number 3, embrace a global mindset. Even if you're launching your product in just one market, always be prepared to scale. Now, before you sign off, don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when we publish new episodes. And leave us a review if you enjoyed the podcast and learned something new. It will be highly appreciated. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show, shoot me an email or hit me up on LinkedIn. My contact info is down in the description. And that's it. I'm Dorian, you've been listening to Highway to Scale, and I'll see you all in the next episode.